This is the A to Z podcast. Zach Jackson, Andre Knott. Facebook.com/A to Z podcast, A to Z podcast.com. Thanks, as always, to Cleveland Scene, to the Honeymoon Grill, to American Fireworks for helping to make this happen. If you're new here, we get fired up and we occasionally venture into mature/immature subjects, say four-letter words, things like that. So if there's kids around, if you're easily offended, if you're in a work environment, we don't want anybody to get in trouble for listening to A to Z. So put on your earbuds or come back and listen to us at another time. Good morning, Andre.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. Happy Turkey Day to everyone.
Yeah, so we can smell the turkey in the air, which makes both of us happy. And that means we got a lot of things to touch on here. We were going to go with an Ohio State-Michigan guest, but we had such a phenomenal interview last week with Terry Pluto. Go check that out if you haven't. And it's a short week for so many people that we just decided we'll talk some Ohio State-Michigan. And then, you know, if we really have some Buckeye issues to talk about next week, good or bad, we'll do that. And I want to start right there, Andre. I just want to say, as you look at this Ohio State team, you see a defense that is undisciplined and slow and out of place. You see Urban Meyer on the sideline looking like he'd rather be in the grave than coaching this team.
Oh, man.
But I got to say, all those things considered, I think if people really band together this week and refuse to type the M on social media, I really think that they can help the Buckeyes pull this thing out.
No doubt, no doubt. That's the best defense in the world, is if you can just X out that M and make up like it doesn't exist. One of the more, you know what? Every rivalry has its own things to it, which makes rivalries really cool. Some of it's not for me. And I think I realize that as I get older that, you know, like some of the, just, you know, not saying Michigan or, you know, and like I get it if you played the game or if you went to school there, never mind. If you're a fan of it and you get into it that way, that's awesome. That's all for you. I hate it when Urban Meyer was, you know, trying to tell people in the media they couldn't wear blue shirts. I just thought that was just a little bit too far. That was a very Urban thing. Yeah. Just, like some of the stuff, just the pettiness and some of the other things about. I mean, we really should be excited. I want to say this is the first time probably since like 2007 that both teams come in with legitimately something to lose or prove or to win. In the game. It's been so odd. Like, I mean, Michigan, Ohio State's been a part of my whole life because we've grown up in Northeast Ohio. But it hasn't had the same pop to it. I know you young kids out there, you probably love that you probably never have seen Michigan actually win the game. But it's everything, though, that we've all been claiming for the last 6-7 years. We can't wait till Michigan's good, so the last game of the season means something. It means something. Ohio State, as you said, the defense, it's not the silver bullets. It's more like the silver cripple. And I know if it's the cripple people, they just can't move. They can't tackle people. They can't cover people. It's embarrassing, the riches of what you think they have, how they can't show up and tackle anyone. Last week they got killed by the run. I mean, just dominated by a Maryland team that one day we got to have a talk about the whole Maryland situation. It doesn't have to be now, but the whole Maryland situation to be just, there's a lot of things about it that don't make me feel good. But Ohio State's here, and they may have one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the school's history behind center. And if they win the game, we can talk about what happens there. But they're at home, and you know, they're one of the better teams in the nation, even though they don't look like it. We'll see. I mean, isn't that the beauty of this rivalry? That you don't have to. We used to say that you wanted that with the Brown Steelers, but your record really doesn't matter, and who's the better team really doesn't matter. It's who's the best team at that day, and they do have that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, cliche of cliches, right? Rivalry, throw it out, anything can happen. But
right.
History of this says that, right? All those loaded Cooper teams couldn't get it done.
Oh my God!
The last several years, a couple times, Ohio State has had overwhelming talent and momentum advantages in games have come to the fourth quarter, come to a certain play, a situation. Just a few years ago, the 2-point conversion, you know, at the end from a clearly inferior team. And look, we're killing Urban. Urban's not a good person. I'm not backing down from any of that. He has not lost to Michigan, and that's a hell of an accomplishment, right? I mean,
it's a hell of an accomplishment. And for people that wonder from the outside looking in, for those that wonder why they go through what they went through at the beginning of the year with all the talk about Zach Smith, you just said why. They've won a national championship, and they haven't lost to Michigan. As long as you do that, you're always going to get, your treatment's going to be a little bit different than others and how they're treated. You said we're killing Urban. Like the Urban situation, and if you listen to this podcast, you know that I'm not this negative person. I'd like to think that most of life I look at the glass as half full. But he's a very intelligent man, and he accurately knows how to portray himself because he's a big boy, and the camera's been put on him for a very long time. His actions last week on the field, I don't know if he's looking for a shoulder to cry on. I don't know if he's looking – he obviously is in pain, and I'm not belittling pain. But the looks I had tried to get, and I'm not trying to be critical but it just came off of, well, if we get embarrassed here, this will be a good out. I feel like crap. I hate saying that about a person. I don't like doing that. It's like the guy that, gets beat on a big play and suddenly his hamstring is hurt or gets, gets beat deep and he grabs the hamstring, but he doesn't touch the hamstring when he's making plays. He's up there dancing and giving first down signs when he makes a play. Urban's actions last week just came here. I'll say this. Whether Urban never loses to Michigan or never, or never wins a national championship, that's not the look you want of your leader that we saw last week against Maryland. Whatever's going on with him, whether his head is hurting that bad, the aneurysms are that bad, all signs are pointing towards Urban Meyer not having much time left at Ohio State. Use that as motivation. That's just what it looks like. I could be completely wrong. And then he said something else the other day. I texted to you guys that bothered me, blaming the problems he's having with his recruits is because they don't have spring football, and that's why Ohio kids are getting away. Like that was a lame thing to say. Because your job is to find the best athletes no matter what. You're Urban, excuse my language, you're Urban fucking Meyer.
That's correct.
So saying because Ohio doesn't have spring football is why you've had issues, recruiting Ohio kids. Like, I just hate hearing excuses like that, because the one thing that I know Urban Meyer tells his kids when they come through the door, he basically says, we're a no-excuse program. We're a no-excuse team. We'll overcome any and everything. But he can't recruit Ohio kids to save his life. But Michigan State is. Michigan's getting Ohio kids. The rest of the country are getting these Ohio kids that can play. Stop blaming spring football and just look in the mirror and realize you've made yourself this national power, which is fine. But I said this a couple podcasts ago. I think when you have a kid from Centerville, you have a kid from Akron, Ohio, you have a kid from Canton, Ohio. I think the third, fourth quarter matters when they're going against Michigan State a little bit more than a kid who's just trying to get drafted in the top 2 rounds. And I have nothing against that. It's part of what you asked for. But I think that's why this has probably been one of the least exciting Ohio State teams we've watched in a long time. Something just isn't there right now, Zach, for whatever reason.
Right. I think in some ways you can compare Urban F. Meyer to a guy we're going to talk about later in the podcast who's also in Ohio this week, LeBron RMF James. In that the greatness is rare. The highs are really high, and then when it's over, there's a lot of bad feelings, right? For reasons good and bad. To get back to Michigan for just a second, when you think about it, the last time they did lose, it was the Fickle year, the Braxton as a true freshman, and they easily could have won that game, and that was a good Michigan team, and it was not a good Ohio State team, right?
No, and that makes your point of the records don't matter. We can use the cliches. Yeah. It doesn't matter. If it's the right time, right place, you can win this game, and I think that's the beauty of it. That's what this is about. And I don't want to come off on this podcast as negative towards it. I'll be in Chicago. I can't wait to watch it, though. I think it's going to be a really cool game. And I'll be honest, to be in somewhere like Chicago during a game like this, it almost makes me realize how big it is. Sometimes when you stay at home, you can go to your same place to see the same people. I know a couple bars I can go to in Chicago that'll make it feel like I'm in Columbus, or make it feel like I'm in Ann Arbor. And that's the beauty of Chicago and the beauty of this matchup.
Right. The other thing I want to say is, and I'm asking this as a legitimate question, even though this is something I've thought about, right? We can all get ourselves, Dre, all of us, in Twitter trouble by saying so-and-so is slow or so-and-so is out of position, because we don't know, right? We don't know the scheme.
For the most part, we don't know.
Yeah. We don't know the scheme. We don't know the individual responsibilities. We don't know who's playing hurt. And the other guys drive nice cars too, right? So they get paid to scheme up and attack. So we can all get ourselves in trouble. That all being said, This is my question, and it's an absolutely valid and fair one. How in the world can you have all these 4- and 5-star recruits and be so slow defensively, consistently get beat on plays that are not new anymore, jet sweeps, simple counters? It's like I'm watching and I'm going, wait a second, like, is this a Manchester linebacker or an Ohio State linebacker?
Right. No offense to my alma mater, but it looks like a Kent State defense, not an Ohio State defense. Yeah. And when it's the Kent State defense, you go, oh, that kid was just a 2-star recruit. They knew that he was slow of foot, but he's a strong kid. He's good academically. He'll graduate. He'll have to. That's what it looks like. It's amazing. Like you said, they played so many games. They are a tough watch defensively. They've lost coaches, but it's Ohio State, man. Like there are kids all across this country that are dying to come here and play defense. And I continue going back to having a couple kids with Ohio pride may make a difference, may or may not. And here's the other thing, the elephant in the room. And we kind of saw this play out with Ed Oliver last week, the Houston defensive tackle that we think is pretty good, but now he's known for something completely else. They are playing, and I'm not saying that, maybe they would rather be in the worst defense in the country. Maybe they would be, the 100th. But they are playing without the best college football player in football.
Yeah, well, he might be he's certainly a top 3 pick if he's not number 1.
Yeah, yes. And I'm not going to say that changes everything, but that would change a lot. Just because if he was playing and he was healthy, if Nick Bosa is in there, suddenly you got to double team him. Suddenly you got to chip him. Suddenly you got to, you got to do other things to get kids in better situations.
Yes.
But the Ohio State needs to go back to the drawing board because, like you said, they're slow. They don't set the edge. You can double move the secondary. And I've said this before, like Ohio State, the one thing they've always been known for is linebackers and DBs. And this year they don't have either. Yeah. Offensively, I think they're still looking for their identity. This is weird. It's just a weird year. And at the end of the day, I won't be surprised. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say they're going to beat Michigan. I don't know how. I just haven't seen Michigan beat Ohio State in so long. I got to go that way.
I don't know how either, so we'll see.
Well, but that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, no, it is.
If the long-haired kid from Michigan can't play the defensive end, and that kid is good, who got hurt, he got banged up late in that game. That makes a difference. Like sure. He's a difference maker, and it goes off of what I'm saying. On the other side. With Bosa, you don't have that playmaker. They don't have their playmaker. You take your advantage. If he's not playing, you try to take advantage of it and run with it. Because I'll still say this: what's the biggest game Shea Patterson has ever won?
Well, right. That's a hell of a question. The Egg Bowl.
And Shea Patterson's telling people in Ann Arbor this week that he's just getting ready for it like it's another game.
Yeah.
I know that's what you're supposed to say, but that's not the truth.
Well, maybe he's just watched. Maybe he's watched the film.
Hey, but you know what? No. I'm glad you said that, and that's exactly how you can get your ass in trouble and lose.
That
is.
That's
exactly how you can lose a game.
One thing I want to make sure I want to say is, I've been really fortunate in my career to cover a lot of cool and unique things, and 4 or 5 Ohio State, Michigan games, in addition to being around Urban, Brady Hoke, Harbaugh, guys that have played. Like, this thing is special. You feel it the week of the game. You feel it the morning of the game. The pregame scraps and the double birds and every game coming to the fourth quarter. Who's going to make that play that's going to be remembered forever? Right? We remember Beanie Wells with the Akron Finest in his head. We remember Mr. Woodson. Desmond Howard going all the way back. Thanks, babe, for not delivering.
Absolutely.
Desmond. Appreciate it. Congrats to you. No, but I mean, that is awesome, and I am a crusty old man, right? Who
sure.
delivers his fair share of cynicism. But when you are in Columbus or Ann Arbor on the morning of that game, or even in the week of that game, you feel it really is different than the others, and it's cool. And I have grown friends. So here's my situation this week. The Browns play on Sunday in Cincinnati, as most of you guys know. And I would almost always leave on Saturday and drive down. Well, it's the holiday for one, which is complicated, and I don't want to miss Ohio State, Michigan. And so, friends in and family in and different things going on. So I'm trying to plot out, like, okay, am I just going to maybe start heading south even on Friday or super early Saturday so I can get in position where I don't miss a snap of this game? Like, how am I going to handle this? And then, because I know, Jerry, if I stay, I can go Sunday morning, but I know I'm going to start cracking beers. And then, Saturday afternoon is going to turn to evening real quick, and I'm going to have to drive 4 hours on Sunday morning. So my friends that traditionally have parties and in long standing, this is what goes on for Ohio State, Michigan. I have two grown-ass 40-year-old family having friends who refuse to go to any. They're Michigan fans, have been their whole life for whatever reason, and they get together in the one guy's living room and they watch it together. No one else. The wife and kids have to leave. They don't go to the parties anymore. Like they are that into it. And I sit there and chuckle and call them nerds, and they're like, "Well, we wouldn't possibly do it any other way." And I say, "Hey, good for you guys. That's cool."
I used to be that way. It's just God bless anybody that can, but when you just get to this point, maybe it's because of my regular job. I gotta get in where I fit in when it comes to watching.
Well, your priorities have changed.
I'll be honest.
Your priorities have changed.
I'll be honest. 11 o'clock kickoff in Chicago and going to the bar that I know I can go to that's not that far from my brother-in-law's. It'll be a blast. But the rest of my Saturday with my kids in Chicago would not be fun. So it's like better out, it wouldn't be. It's like I can't start drinking at 11 o'clock at the bar that I'd like at the Ohio State bar in Chicago the way I want to. Because you either drown your sorrows or you have the most enjoyable drinks because of that. This is what it's about. And now the other thing that comes along with this game, obviously, is if they win, I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is to be pure honest. And I should have prepared myself knowing that we were going to talk about this, because I'm sure someone that's really smart will try to tweet me and tell us how wrong we are or how off I am on something. If Ohio State wins, they win their side of the bracket. Is Michigan in the same? What's right
winner,
now? What would be forecast as a big?
The winner goes on to play Northwestern next week in the Big Ten title game.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, Northwestern. Think about that. Didn't Akron beat Northwestern?
Yes. Now Northwestern led Michigan 10 or 17-0 in their regular season game.
Yeah.
But yes, Akron beat the Big Ten West champs. So.
That tells you all you need to know this year, baby.
Well, without diving too far into it, because the new rankings come out tonight and the biggest games lie ahead, so it's all hypothetical. If Michigan wins their next two games, they're in the playoff. If Ohio State wins their next two games, they are not guaranteed to be in the playoff. So we'll see. But that's why I said next week, once we know, there'll be some things to talk about. And you
and I have had that conversation about whether we think they should or should not be there. If they can beat Michigan, I've been going back and forth, and I heard it, and I'll admit, listening to radio made me realize one of the things I hate more than anything else is having a loser attitude towards something. And I feel like at times it's easy for us to be like, oh, they're going to get their ass kicked. Why would they even go? There's no way in the world, being a former athlete a long time ago, no one that's ever competed has ever gone into a matchup thinking like that, right? If they make it, they make it because they deserve to be there. Now, if they get their ass kicked, they get their ass kicked. But that's better than sitting at home going, man, we sucked this year, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. Well, and look, part of this is just Ohio State is a victim of their own standards and expectations, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You're right.
There are 3 national title or bust programs, and they're one of them. So that's a huge deal,
Yeah.
And this is a team that brought back a ton of guys, and you're absolutely right. They missed Nick Bosa. But you knew Haskins' talent. The receiving core, still not great, but had everybody back, both running backs back.
Right.
Nick Bosa's not the only first-rounder on that defense, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, so some of its expectations. And look, and Michigan is also an earned high expectation having program, and Harbaugh's under some heat. And a big reason he's been under that heat is they have not beaten Ohio State, which means they have not gotten to the Big Ten title game, which means they have not achieved their goals.
Well, this would be a big year for him if they could beat Ohio State, because he would knock out 2 things that have been his bugaboos. He finally beat Michigan State earlier this year. Michigan State was a big one that everyone's been attacking him about, and if he could beat Ohio State, it would say he truly has put them on the map. Their quarterback play has been better. Look, I'll say this, and I think this is the best compliment. If you're a Michigan fan, and I know a couple of you are out there. Kim, I know you're out there. Your husband, Mark. There's others that listen that I know are Michigan fans. I think if you're a Michigan fan, the best thing you have going for you, especially coming into this year that had so much pressure on Harbaugh, is they look like a hardball team. Like this team looks like a good, the good teams in Stanford. They look like what he does. Run the football, set up play action, play good defense. He's still very, I hate to say, old school, vanilla, whatever phrase you want to put with it. But I think if you're a football fan, you know what I mean. They ground and pound basically, which I don't have a problem with. I'm just saying, like, if you're a fan and you want to really, gauge your team, I think that he's finally done that. He makes them look like why they hired him. Well, on the Ohio State side, I don't know who they look like. They have no identity. And I think that's the scary thing, because that's the one thing you've always got from Urban Meyer teams, whether it's a Florida, whether it's at Bowling Green, whether it's been here at Ohio State, there's usually there's some character to it. There's not much character to this Ohio State team for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's been hard to watch, and not just the Purdue game and not just the Maryland game. It really has.
Everything, right.
Yeah.
There has been like a 3-quarter period of time where they've just dominated, where you're like, okay. Look at the numbers Haskins put up. And this is, we always, like, you can't be one-dimensional, though. And he's put that up, and Paris Campbell's still just, and everybody, if you know me, I want Paris Campbell to be a star.
Sure.
They don't have a star receiver. They don't, and that's okay. That's fine. I'm not beating the kid up for it. But it's just like they just don't have, like, that signature moment. Hey, now look, the signature moment could come Saturday, and we can forget a lot. And we always know, I've heard fans go up to Browns players saying, hey, you can lose every game, just beat Pittsburgh. And lo and behold, the Browns took those motherfuckers up on that for a couple of years, but couldn't lose it every game. But this is going to be telling, because Urban can do all the grabbing of his heads, the grabbing of his knees during games and having headaches. He wants a true headache. Get your ass blown up by Michigan on the last Saturday of the season and see how fans turn on you. Because this has been a weird year for Ohio State fans. Like, we've had conversations. Think about it, Zach. We've had conversations, I'm sure not just amongst ourselves, but you've had conversations with probably your mom, your dad, friends in your neighborhood. Like, this is the first time we're all kind of questioning what Ohio State's program is doing. Like, think about that. We haven't had that in a long – like, you run up John Cooper, and I'm glad you did, because John Cooper, God, Lord bless that man. He could recruit some number one picks, couldn't he? But he couldn't beat Michigan to save his life. And it seems like at the end of the year every year, we question John Cooper, not because he couldn't win 8-9 games a year, but he couldn't win the big one, or he'd lose to Michigan State. This is the first time, I would say, and that was in the 90s. This is the first time this program has gone through this because of what Tressel was able to do. No one killed Luke for the year that he had because of everything that was going on. This is the first year where I've had Ohio State fans question the direction of the team. And some of it has to do with off the field. But when you combine what's happened off the field to on the field, it's just we're in a different territory than we've been in a long time.
I'm not predicting this because I don't know. And lately I've been really exhausted by people thinking that predictions are like scripture, right? From jackasses talking into a microphone.
I hear you, man.
But, like, I think Michigan's 2 touchdowns better, and I think Matt Campbell's the coach at Ohio State by Christmas. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
I think that yeah. We'll definitely see. Well, can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you something about it as a writer, and we can move on. And if you don't want to kill him, you don't have to. I'm not asking you to kill him. I'm asking for, what the hell is that McMurray dude doing last week in that story that he wrote? Like, I'm asking you as a journalist. I'm not asking you because we live in Ohio. I'm asking somebody to write stories.
I can't answer because something like that, there is supposed to be a process of people saying, we can't do this on hearsay, and we can't deal with the potential implications of throwing this out there without some substance to it. So I can't answer what he was doing.
Right.
Bigger picture, I'll tell you this. You know, when you're Ohio State and you're having one of those seasons, you're really having one of those seasons.
Yeah. No. That's like
real
life.
What have we been saying on here for years? Holidays is when the family business comes out, right?
Yeah.
You can hide it the whole rest of the year. But now it's time.
Yeah, you can. But I expect a story like that. I expect, no offense to, and nobody take this personal, and I won't call names out. I expect that type of hatchet work from certain places, but not from a guy that's been around as long as that. The thing it came off to me as, he has an axe to grind against Urban Meyer. He's willing to go as far as he possibly can to grind that axe, and that's just not a good look. It's just not a good look.
Agreed.
Like, you don't go about doing your business that way.
Dre, the Cavs are so painfully bad that last night I was driving and like trying to listen. I mean, you know that I listen to sports in the radio. I listen to high school football, small college basketball, sports talk all day, all night. I mean, I'm trying to listen as I'm coming down 71, and I can't get excited about Rodney Hood breaking jumpers and Nwaba getting 3 fouls in 5 minutes. Like, I have no interest. I understand this is part of the thing. But the Cavs are in the spotlight because LeBron and the Lakers are coming to town. And because my cohort, Joe Varden, got LeBron on the record to say what we all knew, that the Kyrie thing was the last straw. It's bad. It's been bad. What's that?
We knew that, though. When that trade happened.
Yes.
Remember, I got on this podcast and I yelled and screamed and said, you don't let this guy leave. Like, that was common sense. Like, it was like everything that's happened is not like that surprising to like Joe did a great job on the article. Let me say that first. I'm not killing him. But all he did was confirm what we've all been sitting there knowing. I remember saying to you when LeBron left, think about it. Like, they went from having 3 of the best players the organization's ever had to losing the two best faces of the organization ever, as my son walks in and mocks me. Like this is – they're going to lose by 40, matter of fact, tomorrow night too. Happy Thanksgiving, Cavs fans.
Well, look,
they are.
LeBron is a complicated character. We know his legacy is way beyond basketball. And although we have been quick to point out that he's not perfect, no one is. He's done a damn good job of staying on the right side of the line. He's done things that other people haven't done or even thought about doing. He has done a great job, for the most part, surrounding himself with the right people and insulating himself from some of the BS that swallows these guys up. And I think unbiasedly that he is the greatest basketball player we've ever seen. So, obviously,
think about what we talked about with Terry last week. Justin, we all say that he's a pass-first player, and he's going to be top 3 scoring of all time.
Yeah, right. I mean,
think about that.
The longevity, the greatness, everything. I mean, look, you go back 16 years. This kid was not – forget I'm just a kid from Akron, I'm not supposed to be here. How many times does a kid with half the hype live up to even half of what it is, right? We set these kids up to fail, and he has exceeded everything. So it's always going to be a complicated relationship. The bottom line is this, from a basketball standpoint. He brought Cleveland the title. So he deserves that will always live. He deserves what video the Cavs are going to play for him, the ovation I'm sure you're going to get. You know what? If a couple people boo, I don't think it's worth making a story about. That's their right. I don't agree with it. I think it'll be a lot less awkward this time around. Life changes, things change. But
it should be. If you boo, you're just one of those people.
Yeah,
and we're in that stage though of life. Like, there's just certain people that are just assholes that are unhappy with life, and they'll do any time that they can be angry, they'll be angry, right? Like, that's the one thing. I got to be honest. The one thing I've learned in growing up a little bit is there's just negative people out there that can't see past themselves to realize how ridiculous and how childish they are. Just like people that want to flip him off and give him the bird, it's ridiculous. Like, okay, has he made mistakes? Yeah, and so has every other person on this planet. And the good has outweighed the bad by 10 times over. So if you want to be that person, go ahead and be that person. It's just like the idiots that go on Twitter or on social media, make up different names in different places and just make up lies about people. There's just some bad people out there that are embarrassing. And when they get out in public, they don't realize that they represent their whole family and they show how ridiculously stupid they are. And that's what you will see, a handful of them. And like you said, we shouldn't make a story of them, but that's a part of how our world works now.
Let me think about the way I want to say this. Only when he's done, although he's been conscious of his legacy, understandably, right? You don't write your own, right? You can answer the question when it's asked. You can be conscious of it, and I think you need to be when you're a mega superstar like he is. When that time has come, it'll be done. And although I think that you don't have to be a person of LeBron's stature to be understandably upset with a Kyrie trade or to clash, especially in today's day and age with decisions that are made when you are the superstar and you have earned some level. I mean, we talked for years, Dre, about the complications. Never would it be the ideal plan to give the keys to one person and let him go. But tell me what plan B was going to be, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. We'll look at it. Compare 2 years ago today to today. You're better off giving the keys than letting the owner drive it.
Sure. No,
right?
that's exactly right. And although
you
say
always
this,
said that, but it shows now.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness and in truth, him voluntarily giving away the most incredible streak of consecutive finals will be part of his basketball legacy. But it will not diminish what he did do, that he has a chance to be the greatest ever, what he did win, score, assist, all these things in addition to the non-basketball gifts. And just, how he embraced being the face of two communities, how he came back when he didn't need to, and all of those things. So, I frankly am way more interested from a basketball standpoint in the Maui Invitational Championship on Wednesday night. But will I pay attention to the TV, see that? Yes. And, in 2010, I covered the team. I was invested. It was a different time. Him coming back was a huge deal to me and to a lot of people.
Right.
This time around,
right.
Hey, it is what it is. I'll keep my eye on it, but like the Cavs are otherwise unwatchable and god awful.
They are.
And so, I can imagine making sure it's on at 7:45 till 8:15 and then going about my night before Thanksgiving routine, which consists of lying heavily and drinking heavily.
Well, you asked me a couple of weeks ago, a scale of 1 to 10, how important watching a game was. Remember that? You asked me that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yes. Right.
This one, it's like a 1.5, 2, because I'm past all the, I know the facts. You know what I mean? Like you said, number one, I know that the Cavs right now are unwatchable. It just is what it is. I know that part. Number one. Number two, I don't need to see ESPN tell me about how our city works. You know what I mean? I don't
Correct.
need to see the national scope come in and laugh at who we are and where we're at and try to tell us how we feel. I just don't need it. It's truly one of the, I'm traveling to Chicago. I'll probably be doing family stuff. I'm sure I'll check the score. I'm sure people, but I don't care. And it's weird for me to say, but I don't care. It does nothing for me. And you know me. That doesn't happen to me very often when sports situations happen that everyone's going to watch. I'm just cringing and hoping that nobody runs on the court and begs for him to come back, and nobody just says or does anything stupid.
Yeah,
that's the two main things. I'm seriously a parent now. I'm more worried about our image and our image taking a hit because one idiot does something completely ridiculous because he knows national media is watching. I'm more worried about that. I just want it to get over with and get it's just it's like the last practice before the big game. Just get in, get out, and don't anybody get injured.
I forget what it was a few weeks ago. I was talking to someone, and a picture of something or someone in Cleveland came up, right? And I think it was just sitting there texting. I don't know if I was texting or talking with a friend, and this came across our screens. And through whatever chuckle we had, or oh my gosh, does that sum up that person? One thing she said to me was, "Hey, look over to the other side. In that picture is where I was the night the Cavs won the title." And people will always have that, and that's because of LeBron. Right. And so I think as you go forward, right, there's awkward moments, and it wasn't all pretty, and it could have been different on LeBron's. We'll never know if LeBron just fully intended to leave again or not. And frankly, for 3 years, we won't know if he wants to come back and have his kids finish at St. V and all those things. But we'll always have that. Where were you that night? Yeah. That day in 2016, and that's enough for me.
Right. And that's all I need. And this is the last thing I'll say about it. Talking about whether he was going to stay or go, I think it's irrelevant right now because what is why would you stay? For people out there, for anybody that's out there that's complaining that he left again, what was there to stay for? When you look at how that organization's run, what the culture is there. Look, is he going to win a championship or go to the finals in L.A.? No, probably not. But at this point, I heard somebody say, life-wise, I feel like he felt like he was forced. He didn't want to work under the hand that he was. When you hear how Joe Barton tells the story of he basically begs and pleads. And for all the times we called him the GM, we called him the coach, we called him all those other things when he was here. He begged and pleaded, don't trade Kyrie. When he first came back, what was one of the first reasons he said he came back? Because of Kyrie. Yeah. Now we're gonna find out at some points in time that maybe LeBron wasn't the best teammate to Kyrie. Maybe he browbeat him a little bit, and we're gonna find out that Kyrie. Well, we already know Kyrie is a
child.
Give me a good word. Give me
a child.
Yes. So, thank you. You give me. He's a child. We're gonna find out the little intricate reasons why they didn't stay together. But as soon as he let him walk out the door, and we all knew this, he gave LeBron the right to leave. Like, you knew LeBron wasn't going to play. Why would you want to play with – who's the guy you said earlier? The guy that scored 18 points the other day when they won? I didn't even know who the hell he was. David Iwata?
Nwaba. Yeah.
I thought he played tight end for the Browns. I didn't even know he was a basketball player. Like, I'm like, what are they doing? Like I watch other – like, I'll glance at other NBA games, and I at least, like, acknowledge and know some of the guys and can see, like, what are they doing? Seriously.
Let me sum up the state of the Cavs by saying this. I'm genuinely excited that someone in Cleveland, besides me and Lima, is watching college basketball this year. I really am.
Right. No, and we're watching from the beginning. Usually it takes us to, like, January.
Yeah, everybody watches the conference tournaments and the tournament. Yeah, but now everybody's locked in. No, yeah.
We're watching everything. You're right.
They were scalping tickets. They were scalping tickets in Maui yesterday for $1,500 to see Duke.
Wow. You can't blame them.
But seeing in that little gym, that reminds me of LeBron as an AAU player when you could go on Saturday morning to Barber St. V and watch him up close, and do all those things. Because that's what it's like. Okay,
well,
so
let me ask you this real quick. You know what, Pat? I was going to ask. Rose, Jalen Rose. Remember how I was talking about how he was talking about watching Duke and how exciting it was for him? Last week, as much as he likes Zion and everybody else, he doesn't think Zion can start on the Fab Four or the Fab Five. And I chuckle on it. As much as I like Ray Jackson, your nephew, your cousin, Zion's starting on that five one way or the other, in my opinion.
I mean, I used to judge my friends by asking them if they could name the Fab Five right then and there.
I think I still could.
There wasn't a girl in sight.
No problem. Ray Jackson, as I already said, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, King, Jimmy King, and didn't the dude from Cleveland start at center for a little while?
No, you forgot Juwan Howard. You forgot
Juwan. Yeah, that's Juwan.
Jimmy King is the one I thought you would get. Yeah, would get you.
I love Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy King and Ray Jackson were two of my favorite players on that team.
Yeah. No, listen. The black T-shirts and the black socks. I mean, they brought that to suburban America. They did. Right.
Guys are still doing that. Think about that. Guys are still that's still like a look. Well, now you see old suburban dads walking with black Nike socks on, like short socks on, like when they're working out, and I cringe. So I'm like, when they first start wearing it, they never thought that the doctor or lawyer would be.
Well, now the short shorts are back. Yeah, now the short shorts are back. Yeah. And then the thing that
when you got legs like that,
and I've bitched about this for years, but now, to me, you always wore the same shoes as your teammates did, right? And now we not only wear different ones, but we wear these outrageous colors. Like, no, right? If you play for Indiana, you wear red and white. If you play for Akron, you wear blue and gold, right? I don't need pink fluorescent green.
If you play for Akron, they all do wear the same shoes. They wear the shoes LeBron sends them, so they all wear them.
Off my lawn. I need that shit off my lawn. I just do.
I used to care about that, but it's like we're at a stage now where everybody wants to show their own personality, and I don't always agree with it. Look, I think it's cool when the whole team wears the same shoes, but there's always some kid that wants to wear Jordans. They're always like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always a kid that's like, my mom bought me the Jordans, I'm wearing them. It's like, all right, whatever. Like, you just can't slow it. I mean, Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball is old and fuddy-duddy. They're letting players wear whatever shoes they want to wear. Finally, it's like finally. Like, it's like the fights that they finally gave up on. Of like, all right, you guys can show your personality, wear your own shoes. But you're right, get off your lawn. I don't know if we're going to get to talk about Browns this week. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I know that Hue Jackson is thought of as how Hue Jackson is thought of. And I don't know who the person was that Joe Thomas almost spanked on the radio a couple days ago because they were mocking and saying like how Hue Jackson couldn't help the Bengals at all. You can think whatever you want, and it's only going to help a little bit. But having a guy that was a head coach of a team being on the sideline, going to oppose you, it's going to help the opposing team.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a little bit. Look, every team knows what the other team's doing. Look, with all the replays we get and all the video you get, it's not like the Bengals are going to learn new plays and learn anything. But Hue Jackson does. Hue Jackson knows how Freddie Kitchens feels about certain players. He knows how Greg Williams feels about certain players. He knows how that whole staff thinks about players and how they put stuff together. Now, he may overthink it, and it may not, and he may miss. But there are going to be 4 or 5 plays on Sunday that a difference is going to be made because Hue Jackson's on that other sideline. It's just, it is what it is. The guy put the roster together. For anyone to mock that and not think that shows your lack of intelligence and your stupidity. Just because he wasn't a great head coach, a terrible head coach, he still is a coach and has coached his whole life and still knows the variables of how the Browns were put together. I think this is going to be an interesting game for Baker Mayfield because that defense has been terrible for the Bengals. And we can break it down. Like, I just don't know if we'll have time to talk about it because of the holiday and how things will go. But I just want to get that out there. Stop that narrative that Hue Jackson won't make a difference. He will make a difference because he knows that team. He knows the Browns better than he knows the team that he's coaching in Cincinnati. Put it that way.
Agree with most of what you said there. Goes along with my 2 NFL thoughts as we get out the door. Dre, what have we asked for? Interesting Browns games, right? Well, we got one Sunday.
Yep.
Hugh's part of it. Baker part of it. The Browns playing with momentum. The Bengals absolutely on their last stand. The worst defense in the league. Fired their coordinator a couple of weeks ago. They're more of a shit show than people realize because it's a small market. It's not well covered, and because they are the Bengals.
I was trying to tell you that 6 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I told you who was going there 8, 9, 10
and even last week. And this is more important than Baker. Last week, the Bengals and everybody else in the stadium knew the Ravens were going to run it, and for the most part, for 2.5, 3 quarters, they still ran it. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be Holcomb versus Carson 58-48, but I think it's going to take a lot of points to win that game. And speaking of NFL shootouts, it's over now. We don't need to dwell on it. Hopefully you all watched on Monday night. It was phenomenal. A couple thoughts. I think I mentioned this. Having watched the Chiefs in person, the screen game, it's like football porn. It's amazing. Having watched those 2 teams go at it, this is the NFL. You got to score. You better have your offense in mind first. You got to find different ways to attack down the field. And then my last thought, Dre, in 2 to 3 years, with physical maturity, with game experience and mental maturity, how good is Pat Mahomes going to be? Can you even begin to quantify it?
Got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy because so he can continue to grow, so he can continue to see how the game works. But he has a chance to be one of the best ever. That arm strength that he has is phenomenal. As Josh Tomlin has told me again and again and again, and I agree with Josh the more I watch him, he's not just an athlete. His intelligence and knowing how the offense works and how his team works and where guys are going to be is phenomenal. The thing I love about him that you hope that he never loses is that some quarterbacks go through their reads from go from the bottom to the top. He goes from the top to the bottom, meaning he looks for the 50-yard pass and then works his way down. The one thing I'll say is I know everybody's falling in love and saying you got to have a coach that and look, that game was so phenomenal Monday night. I signed me up for it again. I don't know if you would get that same game in the Super Bowl. I will say this, and I know this isn't popular, and I don't care. Everybody can think you got to get it all. Yeah, of course, you've always had to score touchdowns. But I'm going to tell you, what comes up comes around. What goes up comes down. You can still win the game by scoring 30 points, 25 points. You can still win the game by punching the team in the mouth. And don't let Bill Belichick get caught in a game against one of those 2 teams because he'll go old school. He'll do the Giants against the Bills. And for those that forget it, he'll just run the clock out and run. Because that's the thing. Last night was fun. The coaching got questionable late, how McVay just refuses to run the ball. And look, at the final score, it's hard. And I texted you this last night. It's hard to put down either coach when you watch what we watched because they scored so many points. But there's a lot of – if I'm in either of those cities, I can question both why Hunt didn't get more carries, why Gurley didn't get more carries. Yeah, it's fun throwing it, but they don't do any help for their defenses by going up and down scoring the way they score. And all it takes is an old-school rebel like Bill Belichick, and there's others, that simply will say, I'm going to take the air out of the ball, and I'm going to put pressure, and I'm going to score touchdowns and not let you have the ball that way. and you can beat them. Is it fun to watch? Is it a great era of football and watching all these coaches finally bend and run college plays? Well, yeah, you do that. It makes the quarterbacks that played in college, it makes them get comfortable quicker. It makes complete sense. I'm not sure why Todd didn't do that here in Cleveland when he had his chance. But for everybody going gung-ho saying you got to score a bunch of points in offense, yeah, you do. But on the right weekend, I think Carolina can beat you if their defense is playing right. New England can beat you. You still can run the football. Why McVay didn't do that late? He deserved to get in trouble for that. He did. He got lucky last night. I truly believe that in watching it. Those two defenses are so bad. And I'll say this: and referees in the league want what you saw last night. You can't touch anybody. You can't hit the quarterback. This is what Roger Goodell's put together. And congrats, Andy Reid. I like Andy Reid. I really do. But, of course, he's the first coach to get his team to score 50, and he loses. Just the way he's always handled the clock and the way he's always – and I like Andy Reid, but the narrative for him is always going to be really good guy can never win a big game, right? Like, that's just who he is.
Next time the Chiefs play the Patriots, I want the Chiefs. So Craig, clip that, please. We're going to need to go back to that.
Even if it's in New England? Even if they play at New England?
Even if it's in New England, yes. Even if it's in New England, yes, I want that. Hey, we appreciate you guys. We really do. So in this thankful season, legitimately give us a minute to say thanks for listening, for the tweets, for the feedback, for spreading the word. We have fun with this. So above all else, that's what counts. Glad to have you guys along for the ride. And we love Thanksgiving for 3 other reasons. Overeating, encouraged. Overdrinking, expected. Lots of football on TV. Everybody get fatter this weekend. Hug the ones you love. And enjoy the games responsibly.
Konnichiwa, turkeys.